Hi, my name is Nicolette Johnson. I'm a high school art teacher, and today I'd like to talk to you about Artsonia's classroom portal and how you can use it to help your students create their own digital portfolios. To use Class Portal on Artsonia, you will need to make a teacher account for yourself. It's a really simple process of just saying what school or organization you're with. There's some homeschooling and other clubs that also have Artsonia accounts, so it's not just limited to schools, but it will ask for like simple things like the address and email to connect to and a password. And this is my little landing page. It has a lot of information going on here. But what you first want to do is go to Class Portal here. And the first time you go to Class Portal, you'll have to authenticate your account, which just means they send an email to your school email to make sure that you are who you say you are. It doesn't usually take too long. I think it took like a couple hours, not even one. Or no, it didn't take a couple hours. It took a few minutes when I did it before. I'm not sure if the process have gotten longer, but again, it shouldn't be too long. And as you can see here, I have a school ID and an access code and a little login page barcode here. I can replace the code if I ever feel the need to. I'm currently blurring it out because while this is going to be public, I don't want everybody knowing what my code is. So I have it blurred out a bit. But if for whatever reason I needed to replace the code, I could replace it. It is always those eight digits though. And then if you go here, print login page, this is what I have actually printed off and put in my classroom. It looks like this. It's right by my two classroom iPads that I have. And before I had those particular classroom iPads, I actually checked out iPads from my media coordinator. So even if you have limited technology, as long as you have access to some kind of device that can take photos and connect to the internet, you're still able to do that. Tablets usually have pretty good cameras on them. Technically, you could use a cell phone, but again, we try to avoid using cell phones nowadays, but it is an option. You also could have a student use a laptop to take in a picture. It's more complicated because the student has to take the picture, download it to their laptop, and then upload it to Artsonia, but it is possible. All right, but if I go back, I will mention at the bottom of this page right here, there are different videos that tell you for different ways to use the classroom portal. It doesn't let you skip through the video. That annoys me a little bit. So one of the reasons why I'm doing this professional development is because I wanted to kind of literally walk you through the process and you be able to go back and forth in it. All right, but I'm going to go back to my main page. All right, and so the first thing I want to do is I want to create a class for my students to go into. And I already have my original classes listed here. I'm going to add a class. You could do this in high school. It makes sense to do it by class. My Art 1s, I have two separate Art 1 classes currently, but they're crammed into one big Art 1 class. They do the same curriculum. But I could have it be broken up into Art 1 first block, Art 1 second block, but for me, that doesn't matter. Um, at the younger age, when you have classes by teacher name, you could also do it by teacher name. So as an example here, let me do Johnson first grade. Add class. All right, and add students. Including existing students means that if I am teaching first grade and I had kindergartners before in Artsonia already, I could click and pull those names into um, the actual class. So if I went there, I could find it's an alphabetical order and I can type in names to find things quicker. But I could literally click on the students' names and include them that way. But if you have brand new students, you can click add new students. And there's a few different options here. Again, if you're adding them by students, you can click the grade. I'm adding into this one particular class, and you could type up the different names that you want. But you can also send them an Excel spreadsheet for them to upload it for you. I honestly haven't done that because luckily I have at most 100 students in a semester, so it's not quite that overwhelming for me. But from other people I've heard that have done it, it's a relatively easy process. It also doesn't take too long for it to be uploaded. And after it's uploaded, you can go back and add and subtract as you need to. You're not stuck with that class sheet if you mess something up or if somebody gets added or dropped from your class. There are, if you use Google Classrooms, there is a sync to Google Classroom option as well because we use Canvas at the high school level and not Google Classroom. I have not used this, but it is nice to have the option. And also, if you have ClassLink, that's a different way. And transfer student, I've been able to do this a couple of times where a student had an old Artsonia class in a different school, and I was able to transfer the old art over to their new account. So that was really nice to have that background on that student. So I'm gonna make up a name real quick. Sample student, and this person's in first grade. I need to go down here and click add one student, not add new class. So now in my class, I have my sample student, and I could always add, again, I'd be adding more students, but this is how the students will look. If I come over to the right at the dot, 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 I can edit the student. And one thing I am really adamant about is that under parents, if I click add parent, I can add in a parent email in here. And it will send updates to that parent every time the student submits a piece. And it will also send occasional reminders being like, hey, check out this cool Mother's Day promotion going on, that kind of thing. The nice thing about it is that if a parent does not go on to Artsonia, it is okay. That means the student's artwork stays private. That means that I myself, the student, and the parent can still technically go on to Artsonia, but it is kept private. If the parent agrees to it, they can actually release their student so their artwork is seen publicly. I can show you what that looks like real quick. But it's really nice. So if I have a parent that's really wanting to keep their students' work confidential, we can always do that. But if the parents do want to show off to relatives, to friends, to family, different people in the students' lives, they can also invite as like little I think they call them club members or something like that. But it's really nice to have. I have some parents on here that are really not just parents, but also guardians and relatives and friends that are really supportive of students and will leave comments, and it's just really nice to see. All right, but so they, if I do have a parent that does not want to be contacted, let me know. I have this button down here. It says "Do not contact parents," and I can click that, and it will make sure they're not bothered. I can send home a take-home permission slip. I actually usually do this all in one go from my original little dashboard they have. You can also do them in Spanish, which is lovely. I love that option. And that's about it for this student. It also has classes. I have some students that took both Art 1 and other classes like Play with me, so I can put them in the two different classes. Their assignments will get mixed together, so it can be a little bit confusing if a student sees assignment. They may not know if it's Art 1 or ceramics just from looking at their Artsonia. They'll have to actually let me know, or they'll actually have to ask me about it. All right, but going back to the student, so I have, and it mentions here, this artist portfolio is currently only viewable to their teachers. Please add a parent email so it can be accessed by parents and parent-approved fans. All right, so going back to my little dashboard, I have my first student. Now I need to have a project for them to submit to. So if I click on projects, one of my favorite projects I like to have is personal art. This one is mine. This is Miss Rayner's, the other art teacher at my school. That's one thing. If you have multiple teachers at the same school, then they will cluster your projects together. Let me go back. These are both of our projects all clustered together that we do throughout an entire school year. So it can seem a little bit overwhelming, but we know our individual projects, so we don't have an issue crossing over with one another, except every once in a while. But again, if I want to add a project for my student to do, let's just say it was a student sample project. And this is for my first graders. And then what I actually like to do is I'll click show my classes to, and my original classes show up here. So I can click on that Johnson first grade I made. So it'll go to all of those students in Johnson first grade. And I don't even have to click art. I don't even have to do it by grade. Could do it by grade if I want to, can make it that easy, but I could also do it this way as well. Artist titles are what they sound like. They're just quick little written titles. And you can also collect artist statements, but you can also unclick them if you don't want to have them included. And then I click add project. And I can do a description. This is a test of a painting. Media type. I could just say other. These are optional. You don't have to add a description. You don't have to add a media type. And you can also add a little cover artwork if you'd like to. And then I just hit save. In future years, if you continue to use Artsonia, something that's nice is you're able to duplicate old projects. So every year I just go into last year and I'll hit duplicate and it'll make that same project for the new year. And it just saves a lot of time. And sometimes I'll adjust things. I took out one project and exchanged it with another project this year. It wasn't that hard. I just didn't duplicate that project, and then I made a different one with a different name, and I could also delete it if I needed to. On this little standards page, I can connect it to the national standards if I want to, and implementation notes down here. Class portal is just about which kids you're turning it in. So again, Johnson first grade. If I want to give them more particular instructions, I can have it here. I can say, make sure you click the submit button. They usually get a hold of it, so I don't usually have to do anything too much. I can also add a video. I usually don't go, again, because I already have Canvas, I don't go that intense. I don't add a video because the videos are already on Canvas. And then there's artist prompting questions if you want them to think about what they're responding to. This one's already been pre-populated. All right, and you can have an artist statement starter if you'd like to as well. That's a lot of optional stuff. You don't have to worry about that. And I'm going to hit save. All right, so I am going to log out and I'm going to pretend to be a student. All right, so normally I have Artsonia already pulled up, but even if I don't, it's a pretty simple process. The Artsonia page, I am a student. I can either click student or I can click login and ask me again. I'm a student. And you're going to put in your code. You could also have the QR code available. And then scan it with the camera on the tablet or phone that you're using, and it would automatically log it in. But I click login, and it has all my grades here, and I'm pretending to be in first grade. So I'm going to click on grade 1, and I'm in Miss Johnson's first grade class, and my name is Sample S. And so from here, the student found their name, add new artwork. This is the only project I've added so far, so it says sample project. I'm going to click on it, add artwork, select image. You're basically clicking out a lot of green buttons. When you click select image on a tablet, it'll have like photo gallery, take image, or something like that. And usually it's just the photo gallery you go to. And these are the images I have saved on this computer. So I'm going to use one as an example. Click open. and it uploaded pretty fast. I have some options here. Say that I wanted to rotate it. It's as easy as button clicks. If I want to crop, also relatively easy. Crop. If I have something that's personal information, say I don't want people to know my name, if I click on the blur, I can drag this little bar here and then click blur, and it blurs out the name. And that's still legible, so you can actually do multiple layers of blur to make it less and less legible. There we go. Can't really tell what that is anymore. There's gray if you want to do grayscale, and if I do something I don't want to do, I can click the undo button, goes right back. You can lighten, you can auto fix, just mess with the lighting a little bit. You have these kind of simple editing. Then you're going to click save, and here's my title. If I want a title, you do want your students to be careful to make sure they turn in their work and not finish later. If they click finish later, it won't come to you to be graded yet. Turn in title. What is your favorite part of this work? My dress. And you could add, again, you could change the what's requested. So you could say, what's your worst part of this artwork? You could add whatever you want to. And again, you want to click in the green button, turn in statement. And then you'll see this says turned in, turned in, turned in. That means things have been turned in. And then I always tell the student to log out afterwards. And then this is the page I usually leave up on here. And there is a button on the main dashboard where a student can add themselves if they're not on my roster yet. That's what this is about. If you're not yet on the school roster, create an account for yourself so the student could create their own account. You probably would want to have to tell them which class they're in, though. So let's add a second sample, and I'm in first grade. Create account. Welcome second. So this student, again, I could add different things in here and then log that student out after I'm finished. All right, and again, it's just that easy. If the kid knows what class they're in, if they know their name, they know how to click a green button, they can usually handle it. Going back, I wanted to show you real quick, Johnson first grade. And sample, if I go to add new artwork, now that I've submitted this is turned from a green plus sign for something I need to add to a blue check mark. I love this so much because it's such a simple way for students to know what they've already turned in and what they need to turn in. And this is also where if a student has any comments from their parents or guardians or friends, it'll show up here as well. So they can look back on their digital portfolio. And it doesn't have the flexibility. It goes in chronological order. So if I had a student that had me for a few years, their beginning art stuff would be at the very bottom and their most recent stuff would be at the top. So it is limited in that way. But honestly, it's still easy enough to navigate that you still get like a great digital art portfolio. My AP students will actually take their images because on the actual website, it does tend to do a lower quality image of what you can see. This, as you can see, this isn't super high definition. My end does save a higher definition image, so I will let students know, and we actually a lot of times use the images from Artsonia for their AP portfolios. That's how high quality of images it can store. Doesn't always keep it on the website like that, but it is possible. All right. And so again, the student would just log themselves out and they'd go back to this original page. Now let me switch back over to the teacher side of things. All right, going back to the teacher side of things. Again, log in just like I done before. And now I'll be able to grade that artwork that student turned in. What I usually like to click is review entries and it has both me, my work, and the other art teacher's work put together. So of those 7 artworks, there's only 2 that are mine, 5 are the other art teachers. But again, we have a nice system where we kind of like being able to see each other's work. We actually like, as long as we're being careful not to grade each other's artwork by accident, it works out really well. You could also click on projects and click on sample project right here. And I could click on review student artwork and it would let me grade and submit it. But I'm going to go back to what I normally do. What I like to normally do is I click on review entries, and then because it was the last thing submitted, it'll be at the bottom here. So from here, the title, say that wasn't supposed to be the title. I could edit it directly from here. Title improvement, and I can change their statement as well. And I can either approve, edit, or delete. An important box here is check this box if the image, title, or statement contains student personal information, as in a photo or last name. So I blurred out the last name so I wouldn't technically have to worry about this. But if there's an artwork that is just something that I don't think should be public for one reason for another. Maybe there's like video game violence or something like that in it, and I'm not necessarily wanting to show that off in my particular classroom. I can click that button, and it will still be a part of the student's portfolio. It will still be sent to the parent, but it will not be publicly available, even if the parent gives permission for it to be publicly available. So that does give me more control over to what's being shown on the public page that's representing myself and my school. So I love that button for just last name, images, anything where it's like, maybe I don't want this shown publicly. All right, and so I could also delete it. Say I haven't had too many issues with this, but every once in a while, a student won't pay attention to who is logged in and will submit something under another child's name. So I could always delete this if I needed to. But let me show you what edit looks like real quick. When you go to edit, I could actually send it back, and I could say, please redo. I could say whatever kind of feedback I want. And then say occasionally a student will turn a project in under a wrong name. So maybe this isn't sample project. Maybe this is actually supposed to be psychological landscape. So I can actually go in and it's in alphabetical order and I can put under the appropriate project. But this was a sample project. And say, again, if a student turned it in under the wrong child's name, instead of sample student, this is second sample student instead. There, easy fix. And I can make these edits. I can approve the title, I can approve the statement, or I can send them back. And again, give feedback on all of that. And I have more room for optional feedback. Please redo by Monday. All right. And then at the end of this, again, I have a little checkbox I could check if I didn't want it to go public again. And then complete review. All right. And so normally when I'm grading, I'll have Infinite Campus pulled up while I'm going through review entries. And that's how I do my grading is either I'll go into review entries if I had a lot of catch-up work to do, or if I have one project that was just recently turned in, I'll click on projects. But that way I'm able to give feedback and grade right there. From here, you'll see parents. I have 46% of students that have parents. Again, I use that little email part on the students' profiles in order to send the link to their parents. So I have 46% of parents that have chosen to do that. Not everybody can or is willing to do it, and that's perfectly fine. And then I could directly upload art, and I'll do that every once in a while, especially for contest type things. But for the most part, it's my students that upload for me, and I just make sure the projects are released as I do them. And then at the end of a quarter, when things can no longer be turned in, I'll actually go in and close down the project so they won't try and turn in something in from an old project that they can't turn in any longer. If a student needs heightened security, there are student pins that you can add. That means to log into Artsonia, they needed our class code to get into their account. You can have students make their own pins for even greater security. I don't feel like I've needed to use this, but if I did have a student that was in a particular situation where their privacy was really, really important and they wanted nobody to have access to their digital portfolio, this is the way to do it. It is a 4-digit PIN. You can have a randomized one. You can create one for the student, or you can have the student create their own. They have different options. And you can limit by grade. You can limit it by particular students. Um, it's just another nice security measure. And then going back to Classroom Portal, when you click on Advanced Options, you have some different choices here. The first one allows students to add their names to your roster. This is useful if you have the occasional student that transfers to your class. That way, like I showed earlier, they can just add their own name to it. But if you're afraid students could make fake accounts or something like that, you could unclick it and wouldn't have to allow it. You can allow students to enter parent information so that they can connect them to their gallery. It allows the parents to be notified when new artwork's published, teacher feedback, review approved comments, manage fan club members, and more. Another option is detect artwork edges when uploading images, just makes it a little bit easier to crop sometimes. Collect art title and art statements immediately after art upload. When a student submits artwork in class portal, this option will ask for a title and or statement immediately after the artwork is uploaded so that students follow through on the turn-in process and don't just kind of like leave it off and then leave it in limbo in Artsonia. And then a last one is collect art titles and art statements for past years. So if they want to go back and update their portfolio, this is a great one to do. And from the main dashboard, if you click on parents, it will show you how many students you have connected, how many parents or guardians you have connected, and how many you have yet to connect. This is both for Miss Rayner and I. And what I really like are the custom handouts you can print out. If you click it, then it makes a little slip that's 3 to a page that looks like this that I send home with progress reports and report cards. I love these because it gives you a little bit of information without being like a ton of paperwork you have to send home. When first starting with Classroom Portal, I recommend only starting off with one class so that you can kind of get your feeling for how everything works and kind of work out the problems you or your students might run into. I wouldn't try and hop into it and shoot all of your students. I know it looks like we've done a crazy amount of things with 51,000 artworks, but that's been since we've been using this resource since 2017. So don't feel like you have to rush that much. But I can't tell you how much Artsonia's class portal has just made my life so much easier to be organized, to keep on top of grading, to reach out with parents, to let admin know how we're doing. I just can't sing its praises any more than I can, and it's absolutely free. I hope that you'll give the class portal a try, and thank you for watching.